Office building on September 8th and 9th, 2001. Now, the FBI had no leads on this case for years, but then, on September 8, 2008, a woman named J.T. Bates walked into the FBI office to confess that she was actually a member of the group that committed the arson. Miss Bates is now facing a life sentence for her crimes. Before she turned herself in, she was facing no time whatsoever. She came forward to clean the slate and to tell the truth. Now, Ms. Bates will tell us about the 4 activists involved. Herself, Robert Goodman, also known as Avalon, who was the mastermind behind the operation. Robert McCabe, also known as Zigzag, who drove the getaway car. And Cuyahoga Rivers, also known as the Spark, who was the mastermind behind the incendiary devices that caused the destruction at Washington A&M. And you will hear that on September 8, 2001, the night of the arson, the 4 activists met at a barn owned by the defendant's cousin. There, Avalon discussed the plan. But you will hear that it was the defendant, Cuyahoga Rivers, who explained how the incendiary devices worked. They were to be placed with 2 barrels of gasoline each, and when the timers went off, an igniting system would light up the gasoline. After the meeting, the group headed over to Washington A&M, where J.T. Bates, Avalon, and the defendant, Cuyahoga Rivers, each grabbed a device. It was nearly midnight now, and darkness covered the 4 conspirators. They placed the devices around Professor Bogovian's office. They were placed according to plan. The evidence will show that these devices had timers on them, and that they had been set to ensure the group had enough time to get away from the building before it burned down. In fact, you will hear it was the defendant, Cuyahoga Rivers' job to set those timers. After Miss Rivers set the timers, the group fled to the local bar Ichabod's, where Miss Rivers' cousin, Billie Joe Davis, was playing with her band. The timers on the devices gave Miss Rivers enough time to get to the band performance before the building burned down. Ladies and gentlemen, the fire we're talking about today was not an accident. It was intentional. Today's defendant, Cuyahoga Rivers, thought she was protecting the world. Today, we ask you to help us protect the world from her. At the conclusion of this trial, the evidence and testimony will support your verdict of guilty on both charges. Thank you. Miss Davis, you and Miss Rivers were close, correct?
Yeah, we are.
She grew up with your grandparents.
Yeah, I used to visit them now and then.
And when you visited, you had fun times together?
She did.
In fact, when she moved back to the West Coast, you reconnected.
Yeah, we did, man.
And your cousins.
We are cousins.
You're here to testify on your cousin's behalf today, right?
Yep, I am.
So now, you wrote a song called Wake Up, you just said.
I did.
This was inspired by Miss Rivers. It was about how American idiots are going about their empty suburban lives. Am I right?
Yeah.
It's about how people aren't trying to make a change for the better.
Yeah, it's about American culture and how basically it's empty.
The song was inspired by Miss Rivers. The song was inspired by Miss Rivers.
Yeah, man, it was.
Because as far as you know, she believed in action, not talk.
Oh, for sure. She definitely did.
And she told you about some of the actions she had done in the past. 501(b)(2)(a). This is a party opponent admission. Therefore, it is admissible. Ms. Rivers told you about some of the actions she's done in the past, correct?
Yeah, she did.
She told you about a time she hung a banner outside of a house, right?
Yeah, the A&M University president.
She told you she hung a banner outside the house of the president of Washington A&M.
I believe that's what I said, yeah.
She hung that banner because the president supported genetic engineering on campus, correct?
Yes.
Now, let's talk about the night of the arson. You had a band performance that night,
I did.
and your show started at around midnight,
Yep, it went on around midnight.
but you left your house at around 6 p.m.
Yeah, it's sound check, so.
When you left, Ms. Rivers didn't go with you.
No, I mean, like I said earlier, like, we were the lead bill, so we didn't actually want to stay with him.
So Ms. Rivers didn't go with you at 6 p.m.
No,
You didn't go home between 6 p.m. and 12:15 that night, did you?
no.
So you do not know what Ms. Rivers was doing for 6 hours and 15 minutes on the night of the arson. Am I right?
Yeah, I suppose.
Am I right?
Yes.
But what you do know is that on the night of the arson, when you left at 6 p.m., Ms. Rivers was sitting in her car.
Yeah, she was.
No further questions.
There we are, John.